Hi folks, I recently caught up with former Blackpool and Hull City legend Gary Brabin. Keep watching to find out why he left Blackpool just before homecoming day. Hull City fans will find out the real reason why the Red Mist came down after he returned to a hero's welcome with Torquay. Gary lifts the lid on some interesting pre-match rituals as well as the car trip from hell. He also talks about his time in non-league with Runcorn and Tranmere as well as spells at Everton and Donny amongst other things. So here's Gary now with the full lowdown. I'm pleased to announce today that I've got with me Gary Brabin, a favourite from 1996 to 1999 at Blackpool. Is that right? You played those years?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, they weren't the greatest time in Blackpool history. I think, did Gary Megson sign you then, Gary? Was it?
It was Gary Megson signed me, and I think it was actually his first sign. I think, and I think it sort of promised to be, a good season or two, a good future with Gary coming in. But I think at the time that Gary only lasted the one season, and then there was a change of manager, and then there was a real upheaval of players, and so quite an unsettling time really for people connected with the club. So
you played at Blackpool, I would imagine. Then was it Nigel Worthington after that?
Yeah, Nigel Worthington. Right,
not the most favourite manager in the Blackpool history, Nigel Worthington. They were sort of...
No, he wasn't mine either. I mean, I've met Nigel since, and we have a laugh about it. But he wasn't my favourite manager either at the time.
No.
I didn't want to leave the club, but I was happy at Blackpool, but just didn't figure in his plans, and that's what eventually made me leave.
So you moved, didn't you, from Blackpool to Hull City? Is that right?
Yeah.
Pretty good career at Hull City. I've spoken to some Hull City fans, and you're a legend there, really, in your time at Hull. Played 95 games, scored 9 goals for Hull City.
Yeah, again, I'm not great with the stats, but I loved my time at Hull. It was I've made no secret of the fact that, well, I've just said here, I didn't want to leave Blackpool at the time. And the manager then, who just took over at Hull, Warren Joyce. And I met Warren. It was after a reserve game, actually, at Blackpool. And I met Warren, and I really liked Warren, but you looked at the club at the time, and it wasn't in a great position. They were in the league below us, rock bottom of the league. And I think at the time, probably needed Snookers to stay up. So it wasn't something that jumped out at me straight away, but like I said, after that, it sort of watched how Warren was doing with the club, and, followed the next few results. And then I eventually, first of all, I went on loan to Lincoln, who were in the same league as Blackpool in Division 1 at the time. I went there and, I had a few weeks there and was doing well there. And the opportunity came again for me to go to Hull. And I jumped at it, and the rest's history.
Yeah, yes, it is. I'm going to go back in time, first of all. We're going to go back to when you first started playing, because you started your playing career a couple of games at Stockport County.
Yeah.
Were you in the youth at Stockport County, or did you come into football a different way?
Yeah, well, I was. It was, I think, when it was just before all the scholarships were sort of starting, the YTS, I think, as it was called back then. Yeah. And it looked like I was going to go to Everton at the time.
Right.
I thought I was signing for Everton. I'd gone into Everton. I'd done it. Worked on the 3 players that were going to be, they sort of cut everyone away, and the 3 players that looked like they were going to sign, with me being one of them. Yeah. There's a couple of games where I had a little bit of a spell where I think I got sent off in one of the games, and it wasn't a good little couple of weeks or whatever it was, and eventually Everton never signed me, and I was devastated over that. So I was a bit of a late comer going to Stockport, and then I had 2 years as a YTS there, if you like, and then signed 2 years as a...
You signed as a pro from YTS at Stockport, did you?
Yeah, Yeah.
And then you moved on. Then you moved to Gateshead on loan, and then you ended up at Runcorn for 3 years. Is that right? Was that non-league then, Gary? Runcorn.
Yeah, it was. It was same sort of patterns followed me early career with, like, you know, getting in trouble with referees and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't think that helped me at Stockport as well. I'd been sent off times there, and then it was an opportunity to go on loan to Gateshead and play football.
Right.
Again, they were boss of the league at the time in the conference, and I went there and really enjoyed my time there at Gateshead. And I think I played the back end of the season, the second half of the season, and we ended up staying up. And I had a real good time there, met some good people there, and I was desperate to go back to full-time football, but the opportunities weren't really coming for me. But,
Right.
you know, I felt it was near, you know, more important to be near home, and that's when Runcorn coming for me, and I ended up having three really good years at Runcorn. You know, loved my time there before eventually going back into the league. Sorry, I'll have to move to another room now because my family like to follow me around.
Do you have a part-time
that's
job?
where the original nickname of when I was doing a little bit
Bouncing.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? Have you heard that song, by the way, that was sung for you, the Ex-Bouncer song? Somebody played it to me. There's a song called Ex-Bouncer, and it's all about you.
Are you going to refresh my memory and sing it?
Oh, I can't. No, I can't. I can't. I thought I should have had it on my phone. Somebody gave me a link to it. I'll have to maybe find it if I can before. But there's a song called Ex-Bouncer, yeah, which is all about Gary.
I don't think I've heard that one. No, I don't think I've heard that.
Right, okay. Because you did used to be a bouncer, didn't you? Yeah, you were.
Yeah. For all me, yeah.
A definite hard man. I mean, you're always remembered as a hard man. So certainly at Blackpool, you were not scared of going in a bit, and that's the kind of player really that, you know, fans love to see. You know, we love that committed player. You know, there's some heroes over the years at Blackpool. You know, Gary Briggs was a particularly hard player, and Andy Morrison played for us before you came, and you were kind of if I remember, you're a bit of a replacement for Andy Morrison because he was
I know Andy really well, and
he was a nutter.
No, but I think, I mean, we actually had a laugh about it talking one day. We were because, you know, he'd heard stories and I'd heard stories, and apparently we were best mates and we were going out round nightclubs and causing trouble together, and it wasn't true. You know, no. It was I think things were just exaggerated. I mean, obviously some of the things that were said were true, but it sort of blew out of proportion, and we had a little bit of a laugh about it. But I think it's, you know, we were certainly for myself. You know, I think I'd like to think of myself more honest, and I've had to fight for everything in my life. And, you know, and I wouldn't say it was you know, I'm very much against bullies and stuff like that. You know, I think it's, you know, when I played football, I give everything to win, and every time I went in for a tackle, I give everything to win that tackle, and I think that's just the way it was. And then I think when I was playing part-time football, you know, the money wasn't great, wasn't enough to live on, and you know, I wasn't skilled at anything else, and you know, you'd obviously know people, and people asked me to be a doorman if you like, or a nightclub bouncer, and you know, and I think it was it sort of stemmed from that. But you know, I sort of throughout my career, I've probably looked at it, and at times you feel like it hinders your career when you get reputations and stuff like that. But I think the flip side to it as well, I think it also helps you as well. So I think you've got to take the rough with the smooth, and it is what it. I don't think things are as bad or as mad as they sound. I think, you know, genuinely football was my first love, and that's what I wanted to do. And you know, I become a nightclub doorman to make more money, to make things meet, and you know, and I think it sort of stemmed from there, really. It was brilliant. I remember, again, you know, I made no secret when I went to Runcorn, I wanted to play in the league, and you know, I'm still probably more friendly with more of the Runcorn players than any throughout my career, because you know, we were such a close-knit group of players, and they were all good lads, and obviously local. So I still speak to most of them lads, and you know, we were the paupers of the league, if you like. and we got to 2 FA Trophy finals, one being against Martin O'Neill's Wycombe Wanderers.
Oh, right, okay, wow.
Yeah. And so it was a good couple of years, a good 3 years there. I represented England in my last season there as well, which was a great experience. And
yeah, you got 3 caps for England, did you? 3 caps for England?
Yeah, 3 caps, yeah. And yes, it was a good experience. And then, I eventually got me dream to move back into full-time football. And, when I look back on them experiences with, real fond memories, because not just from a footballing point of view, from a personal point of view. Like I said, I'm really good friends with some of the people most of the people who I played with, certainly from my Runcorn days.
You got picked up by Doncaster Rovers, did you, from Runcorn? Was it Doncaster you went to?
Yeah, I signed for Doncaster. I think it was for £55,000, I think it was.
Right. So was that your first move back into... That was your first move into professional football then? Were Doncaster in which division were they in then?
Doncaster were League 2 at the time, League 2.
League 2.
And he signed me for £55,000,
Right. So that was who signed you from Doncaster Rovers? Who was the manager at Doncaster Rovers then?
Well, it's again a bit of a strange one. I think it was he'd agreed the fee, but by the time I went back to pre-season training, it was a different manager.
Yeah.
So
right.
it was. I'll have to. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think it was actually Ian Atkins was manager.
Oh,
when
right.
he signed me. But when I joined the club, it was Sammy Chung was the manager.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite a strange atmosphere to go into.
Yeah, so that would be at the old ground, wouldn't it? Obviously, Doncaster.
Yeah, the Bellevue.
Yeah, I mean it's a lovely ground now at Doncaster. I don't know if you've been there now. It's gorgeous. The keep moat, isn't it, at Doncaster?
Yeah, but I'm very much a traditionalist, mate. Like I love the old grounds, and
there's something special about them, wasn't there?
Yeah, it is.
They're a very friendly bunch at Doncaster, aren't they? We went there, and they actually came second in our Jane's away day reviews was at Doncaster.
Yeah.
They really look after the away fans well. Very friendly there, and I imagine they were quite a friendly club to play for. Were they, Doncaster?
Yeah, it was. It was a good. I really enjoyed my time there as well. I had 2 years there. I lived there, so I ended up buying my first house in Doncaster. They had that when I played for Blackpool. So I was living amongst the locals, if you like, and I had a good time there, as a player and living there as well. You
were mainly a midfielder, if I remember. You could also play centre back, could you, as well at times? You sometimes use a centre back, or would you say you're more a midfielder?
Look, I mean, I played anywhere down the middle. I actually played as a centre forward as well for a lot of my career. I think I prefer playing centre midfield. I enjoyed playing centre midfield.
Yeah.
But a lot of people preferred me playing centre half, and it was argued that was probably my best position. But I wanted to play in midfield, so. Yeah, I don't know, but I enjoy playing both positions. But I must admit, I think I had a bit more energy, and I wanted to charge around a bit more in centre midfield. Somebody
posted it up. You were actually a throwback Thursday goal on Blackpool's official website a couple of weeks ago now. I think it was against Wycombe Wanderers. I think it was 1997 against Wycombe. You hit like about a 35-yarder straight in the top end in the top corner. Do you remember that? Do you remember that goal?
No, Phil Horner actually sent me the clip. So,
right, okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do remember it. I think I was more amazed with the fact that Andy Priest could take a throw in. I didn't know he could take a
yeah, it's thrown in by Andy Priest. Yeah.
So I was more shocked by that than my goal.
Really? Well, it was a great goal. I mean, did you mean it for the top corner, or was it? Yeah,
I mean,
was it a cross?
I did used to like having a bit of a deep distance. I'd like to think I scored. I think most of the goals I scored in my career were sort of from distance, and
all worldies.
Yeah, and and I think it was I was made up with the goal. It was a good goal. I was delighted with the goal, but I did mean it. I know some of my teammates will try and claim that away from me, but I did mean it.
No, honestly, it's a cracking goal. I will actually post a link above in the video if anybody's watching this, you haven't seen that goal. You'll be able to see his great goal.
Andy Priest throw in.
Fresh with the throw, which finds Brabin. Brabin wanting it back and getting it back. Has a look. Oh, and he's found the target with an absolute rocket of a shot. What a goal from Gary Brabin.
I mean, you played with some great players then, didn't you, in that team? I was just trying to see who was in. There was Steve Banks, and if you remember him, Marvin Bryan would have been there at that time. Brett Ormrod, obviously, is club legend at that time. Andy Priest, Clark Carlisle. Who was the sort of the best player, would you say, at that time when you were with Blackpool? Can you remember, who you would say was the best player in the team?
Next to me.
After you, obviously, yeah.
No, I think we had, certainly that first year when I went there, we had a good team, and I think we should have done better. I know we had a little bit of misfortune in terms of injuries. I remember, like Dave Linnigan, I thought that first year when I was there was outstanding. I thought Tony Butler as well was at the back. He done well, Tony Butler.
I remember
James
him.
Quinn. I remember Quinny. I'm still big mates with Quinny now, and Quinny, I used to always say to him, he used to always give us a half an hour in a game where you knew he could win us the game, and the other hour he never done anything else. But for that half an hour he felt like he was capable of winning a game.
He was, he was a great.
And it felt like we had a good side. Mickey Mellon, myself, Mickey Mellon, Mark Bonner, Bill Potts, Tony Ellis. Precy. So we had quite a we had a good group of players, but it was I did feel we fell a little bit short that year, and I think there was one or two things, a couple of little issues, I think, which I think if they hadn't have been, I think we'd have done better, and we should have done better. And I think the shame was Gary Megson ended up leaving. Megson ended up leaving, and then a new manager come in and then just wanted to completely change the squad. And I think you're sort of seeing that group of players slowly leave.
Yeah, I mean, many Blackpool fans would probably say that Nigel Worthington probably one of the worst managers in the memory of Blackpool fans. Blackpool fans didn't really take to the football he played or anything at that time. He was just not a great manager in the history of Blackpool. Obviously, we've gone on since some great times.
I think managers, he went on and done really well for Norwich, didn't he? And
he did. Unbelievable.
And probably if you spoke to Nigel, he'd probably say that was his learning curve. Going into that was his first managerial job, and it is tough managing at the best of times, and certainly your first job I think is going to be tough. And I think he'll have learned a lot from that. It was tough, but like you said, he ends up going on and having a good career elsewhere in management. So, but that's not me sticking up for him, by the way. That's because at the time, it was well documented. Me and Nigel, he didn't, he wanted to move on from that group of players, and I wanted to stay, but eventually I ended up leaving.
Obviously, Quinny was one of your mates at Blackpool. Is there anybody else you keep in touch with from that time at Blackpool as a player? Any of
Precy I still speak to. Chris Malcolm was there as well. Chris Malcolm, I still speak to Chris Malcolm from time to time. Lee Philpott, Mickey Mellon.
Yeah.
So I still speak to quite a few of them. It's and we all say the same, really. We all felt we should have done better. That group of players we had.
Yeah, you
certainly.
should.
That was my first season. Obviously, it was second and third season for some people, but that was my first season. I thought that group of players we should have done better and really kicked on from there. And wasn't me.
I noticed you mentioned Mickey Mellon there, and funnily enough, he's now manager at Tranmere Rovers, isn't he? And we played Tranmere Rovers. It was the very last game that we played before the lockdown came along, and he had them playing really good. They had a great game down here. They beat Blackpool in the last game, and the fans were amazing. And I was going to ask you actually, because the reason why, because you'd gone back to Everton coaching, hadn't you? So what tempted you to Tranmere Rovers at that time? Because obviously you were at Everton.
Yeah, no, it was. I went to Everton and it was, you know, it was like a dream job. I mean, I think, you know, I'm an Evertonian as a boy. I enjoyed the youth side, working with younger players, and I felt like I just wanted to have a period in my career where I wanted to sort of focus on that, and no better place to do it than at Everton. And I went in at Everton, and I loved it. I loved my time there. Tranmere coming for, I had quite a few offers. It's sod's law, isn't it? When you're in a job, you get, and I got offered quite a few jobs, which are, you know, and some good jobs as well, and I just wasn't interested. And Tranmere come in, and I turned the job down twice.
Oh, right.
And I think it was probably the persistence of the chairman at the time who, you know, persuaded me to take the job. And, you know, I never have any regrets.
No.
You know, you question times when I've done the right thing, but, you know, I never have any regrets. I don't think you can look back and have regrets. But, you know, it was, I enjoyed my time when I managed Tranmere. I just felt like I never got long enough there.
No.
Because I went in there under real difficult circumstances.
Right.
He'd had successive relegations.
What league were they in then, Gary, when you went to Tranmere? What were they in the conference?
So they dropped into non-league football, and they were in free fall. You know, it was it wasn't a great job to take over straight away. But, you know, we were sort of planning. Our plan was to build with local players within a budget which wouldn't be, you know, stretching the limits of the club. And, you know, I felt like we'd done that, and, you know, which was our remit, our aim, we were well on target for. And the next, for whatever reason, I think there was just a breakdown in our relationship, and we were top of the league, start of the season. I got manager of the month. I think it was a draw and a defeat later, I got sacked.
Unbelievable. So what went wrong there then, Gary?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure that, you know, there was, like I said, there must have been a breakdown in communication between me and the chairman, but I did feel quite disappointed with that, because, you know, I was certainly going to turn it round in 12 months. And I felt like I'd built a real good squad of players. You know, Mickey has publicly spoke about it and, you know, said it to me, and, you know, he was delighted walking into a job where there was a squad of players which were good, and there was a lot of work gone into getting that group of players as well. And, you know, they went on to be successful as well, that group of players, and done really well for the club.
So which players did you bring in at Tranmere then? Because we played Tranmere, and I don't know if he was there at your time, but that Morgan Ferrier, I think he's a great striker, actually.
Yeah, well, I never signed him.
No, I'd like Blackpool to pick him.
I never signed.
Say again.
I never signed him.
No,
I signed the ones who've been there for a couple of years. You know, I'd brought to the club, and like I said, I enjoyed my job. I enjoyed going in day to day. I thought they were a real good group of players, and you know, I think some people, you know, it's hard to take when you first leave a job, and you know, but like I said, me and Mickey are mates, and I like Mickey, and I was delighted, you know, for the lads as well when, you know, when they got the success. And, you know, privately, I had my own moment where I felt quite proud that, you know, that group of players had sort of got all the way to the first division.
Yeah.
From non-league football, so.
Brilliant. I mean, talking about Mickey, I actually know Mickey quite well, because he used to come and train at my gym. I used to own Olympia Gym in Blackpool. And
that must be the wrong Mickey Mellon, training at a gym.
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, he did used to come in. And then he went to, he was at Burnley, wasn't he? And he scored a goal against Blackpool and gave all the Blackpool fans a load of stick. And then he came into the gym, and it was quite funny, really, because he was coming into my gym at the time. It was great, Mickey. I really liked him. So where do you live now? Are you in Liverpool?
Yeah, I'm Liverpool Aintree, by the racecourse.
Right. Oh, very nice. So you're in your dream place, weren't you, when you were coaching at Everton?
Yeah, I was, yeah. It's been ideal, this lockdown, being an Evertonian.
Well, yes, it has.
Well, Liverpool have won the league, so it's been ideal being in lockdown.
Yeah, they've really not had a chance with it, have they? They've not really had a chance to celebrate winning the league, have they? It's a shame, really. They didn't even play to win it. They even won it by default, didn't they? Which is all...
You're not going to get any pity from me for Liverpool. You know, it's it was hard enough for us to take, but You know, it's Everton was my club. Everton, it still is my club. You know, as a boy when I was growing up, that's who I used to go and watch and support.
Yeah, I interviewed Eamon O'Keefe.
I speak to Eamon a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Eamon quite a bit, and he's Everton, isn't he? But he goes back quite a lot to Everton. They look after the former players. You're a coach there, so I don't know whether they look after you in the same way they look after Eamon there. Yeah. It's a very nice club, Everton. In fact, they've got a new ground, haven't they, coming?
Yeah, it's a good club. I mean, I don't get too involved in this new ground. It's been getting spoke about for years, but I remember Eamon when he signed. I remember I used to go and watch when Eamon signed, and I've seen him at a few of the Blackpool games.
He stays very close to Blackpool, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a lovely fella. So I speak to him quite a bit.
So you ended up as Blackpool assistant manager, didn't you? I've got a few questions from Blackpool fans. There's one big question. I don't know whether you want to answer it or anything, but why did you resign? Can you say anything on that, or is it top? Is it something you don't want to delve into?
I don't think there's any. There's no. I don't think there's any one thing. I don't think there was no fallouts or nothing like that. Which is being mentioned. It was just. I just felt at the time. I just felt I needed to move on to, for my career. Selfishly, I felt like I needed to move on. I didn't want to be there, and I've seen a lot of change and. Unpredictability, and I wanted to be in charge of my own destiny, and I felt like the time, was right to leave when I did.
Because I can't remember. Did you leave just after that Accrington Stanley game? Was it because the Accrington Stanley game was just before the homecoming game, wasn't it? Because we went to that. It was like the away game before the big game, and I was there. We got a really early goal. I think it was Matty Virtue scored, didn't he? Sort of just scored really early, and then they were sort of all over us in the first half. They had a left winger that seemed to have a lot of space, and we were screaming at you lot over on the bench, really saying, get this left winger, get somebody on this left winger, because he just seemed to have the freedom of the park. But then second half, I would say that was the best performance Blackpool. Well, I've seen even since any of the whole. They were just rampant that second half. I mean, we got a penalty. What a second half! It was a transformation, and then you kind of left. It was weird.
It was. I remember. You remember more about the game than me. I remember us having a little bit of a go at half time. And I remember the second half being a lot better.
Oh, it was incredible.
But it was. I think I'd made my mind up before that, but there was always something that was putting me off. It was. I remember I was going to go the week before, but then we ended up getting beat away at Bristol Rovers,
right?
And it was a terrible performance, and I thought I'm not leaving on that, so I ended up staying another week.
Right.
The Accrington job, but. Even before that, there was times where I felt like I needed to go and, it was just stay for this or just stay for that. And then, actually after the Accrington one, I thought, right, I've got to go. And even at that point, the fans were coming back on the Saturday.
They were. Well, this is what nobody could understand because...
that was a coincidence, really.
Yeah, the club was terrible before that. I mean, obviously, no fans were going. We were all on this not a penny more. You were getting crowds of 1,000, and the Oystons were, it was just all.
The way I was looking at it, if it had stayed for the one game and then left, it would have been, why did he leave after one game? And I just felt like I wanted to try and I felt like I was sneaking out the back door a little bit, if you like, on the quiet before everything sort of erupted, and I just felt like the timing was right for me to go. But I was, I remember watching and looking at the size of the crowd and the TV coverage the club got with the crowd, and I remember part of me being a little bit like gutted I wasn't there, but I would have stayed for. It would have been wrong reasons why I would have stayed and delayed what I felt was the right decision at the time, and. That's nothing against the club. I love the club. It was ideal going back as well, but just at that time, that moment in my career and where the club was at that moment in time, I just didn't feel like it was right for me to stay there.
You're a casualty of the coronavirus, are you there? Lockdown and everything, is that it's all kind of gone a bit pear-shaped at Luton?
Yeah, I think, obviously everyone feared the financial restraints on each club when this happened, and Luton were obviously punching way above the weight anyway in that division. There was obviously a lot of, I don't know whether panic's the right word, to sort of try and cut finances, and there was in the end, it was they had to start letting people go, and they let the manager go and his staff, 4 of his staff. So we all left, and it's you put it purely down to financial restrictions. We were actually in good form at the time.
Yeah, I think it's still decent now. I think they've not done too bad.
Yeah, it was. I think we got a good, solid base, and we always felt like we'd score goals. We were creating chances and playing good football. Just felt like we were leaking goals a little bit, and and then them last 9 games or whatever, we felt like we'd sort of strengthened things at the back, found a formula to keep playing the way we wanted to play, creating chances, stop the opposition from scoring as well. And so it was a shame when this happened, because we felt like we were in real good form.
Yeah. So what are you doing now, Gary? In lockdown, have you got any plans for the future? What's anything in the pipeline, maybe?
No, there's nothing in the pipeline. I think it's. I think you've got to look at positives in everything in life, and obviously what's happened has been a real shock to the world, hasn't it? What's happened, but again, selfishly, it's been good for us, spending time as a family, home together, and me and the wife's maths and English has come on leaps and bounds with all this homeschooling. I don't know whether the kids later, right, but it's been good spending time at all with the family. But I'm certainly ready to get back to work now. It's I'm at that point now where especially now with the football starting, sort of semi-starting again. Yeah. You sort of want to get back on the grass and start getting back to football.
Do you fancy going more into another managerial job or more into coaching this time? What do you fancy most?
I mean, I've made no secret that I'd like to go back into management at some stage. Definitely want to go back to management. I enjoyed that, but I didn't want to just be doing it for the sake of doing it.
No.
I have turned down jobs which I feel weren't going to benefit me. And I've enjoyed this. So I've made a decision that I was going to be more of an assistant or a coach. My kids are still young. My kids are young, and I want to be there for them, and that's the decision I made. But I've been upfront with everyone. All the managers have assisted over the last few years. They know where I'm at, and again, I've made no secret that eventually I do want to go into management again, but it'd have to be the right job.
Yeah, I think Hull City would have you. Well, the fans would anyway. I've spoken to the fans at Hull, and they're all, oh God, we could just do the 11 Gary Brabins on the pitch at the moment, because they know, they're just not happy at Hull at all. And they said, oh, we'd love to have him as a manager down there. You really are a legend at Hull. In fact, funnily enough, they've mentioned a few times now that you came back to Hull playing for Torquay. Do you remember this game? And you got a hero's welcome into the stadium, and then you had a bit of rush of blood, and you almost, I don't know, you had a really bad tackle on somebody or hurt somebody, and you got sent off, and got quite a bit of abuse getting off. I think you gave him a sumo sign or something. Do you remember this?
I do. I remember turning up. Like, again, I didn't want to leave Hull when I left. I felt like we'd sort of gone through the bad times, and you could sort of sense that the glory was coming, and the club was on the way up, and again, people want to make changes, and I was part of that. So I was devastated when I left. Sort of floated around, and in the end, I went to Torquay.
Yeah. So how did you end up coming back to play Hull with Torquay? Was it in the league, or was it a cup?
Same league? Yeah, they were in the same league.
Right. Yeah.
I was captain of the club. Come back, and the reception I got from the fans was overwhelming. It was fantastic, and it was one of the best moments in my career. That feeling You know, to be appreciated like that was it was fantastic. And
So
you know,
what
I think
happened?
Well, I was actually playing well. We were having a good game.
Yeah.
I was made up with my own performance, playing really well, and 0-0. Hull were the big favourites, and there was about 10 minutes left, still 0-0, and we'd made a substitution which, you know, we'd end up putting this, you know, with a younger, inexperienced lad on the pitch, and you know, we had a more experienced player on the bench who we felt, you know, would have been more suited, and us as players were sort of trying to help the bench, you know, which I think, you know, there's a place for that. You know, players sense things when they're playing. I just felt we needed that little bit more experience, and anyway, end up going against the grain a little bit, putting the younger lads on. The young lads end up coming on, making a mistake, and Hull end up winning 1-0, and that was it. Red rag to a bull, and I've ended up lashing out and got sent off, and that was the loneliest and probably lowest, you know, feeling as well. So I had the highest and lowest feeling.
Yeah, from hero to zero, all in one game, wasn't it?
Oh, it was such a... I couldn't put it... The way I felt after that was it was bad. It was low.
I can imagine it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So I'll let the Hull City fans know what happened there then.
Well, I apologise. Tell them I apologise.
All down to substitutions. And losing, I suppose, as well, conceding a goal. Did you?
Yeah, like I said, I've had to fight for everything, and I want to win things. And you know,
it's that winning. It's that winning mentality, Gary, isn't it? Inside you that brings you down.
It must be. Get me into trouble. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go through some little quick questions that I got down to get to know you. I've put what was your nickname as a player, Gary? What did they call you as a player? Did you have a nickname?
Fans or players?
Players, I would really as a player.
Brabs. It was just Brabs.
Just Brabs, yeah. Not the Terminator or anything like that.
Well, that was more. I think I got more nicknames. I think from fans, and some good, some bad.
Yes. Who is your football hero, Gary? Who would you say your footballing hero is from when you were a kid? I suppose you'd be an Everton player, would it be?
I always say the best player in my era was Diego Maradona. You know, I watched something with him the other day, and I wouldn't say he's my hero. I'm not but I remember growing up watching him and thinking he's just the best player in the world. And even at that time, you know, even now, you know, I always compare people to him. You know, I thought he was unbelievable.
He was outstanding.
You know, and I'm watching his life story now. It's quite sad, but
yeah, it is.
You know, he was definitely a player. You know, growing up that. You know, he was the best player in the world for me.
He was. I just can never forgive him for the hand of God goal. To be honest, it's still.
No, I can't.
Still annoys me today. To be honest, I can still see that it was unbelievable. Have you got a favourite goal that you scored, other than the one against Wickham, or was that the pinnacle of your career? That 35 yards.
I actually scored. Yeah, I was actually talking to James Quinn about this actually, because James, I remember us playing Crewe away, and we won 3-2. Oh no, sorry, we got beat 3-2, I think. And me and Quinny both scored, and they were like two of the best goals you'll ever see. And I remember my goal. I might watch it back now, and it wasn't as good as what I thought, because I've not seen it since. But I remember scoring a goal against Crewe for Blackpool. In my head, what I remember of it, it was a brilliant goal. You know what I mean? And I'd love to be able to see that actually again, but I've never seen it.
So describe it for us then, Gary. What was it like? This wonder goal
again in my head. People always, you know. But I remember getting the ball, and I've gone past a couple of. I think it was a bit of a 1-2 involved, and I've got to like the edge of the box, and it was. I remember just dinking it over the keeper into the top corner.
Right.
And it was a good goal. I remember it being a good goal. I remember my celebration being something like Eric Cantona's. Remember when he just sort of turns around and looks up and.
Yeah, it's just,
I think I'd done that before Cantona.
I shall ask Blackpool fans if they can remember that. They can post in the comments below if they remember that goal at Crewe.
And it was 3-2.
Yeah,
it was 3-2. I'm not sure whether we won 3-2 or got beat 3-2. I can't.
And Quinny got the other one, did he?
Quinny got the other one, yeah.
Quinny got the other one, right? Okay. Who has been sort of like the comedians of the dressing room, particularly at Blackpool? Were there any comedians in the dressing room, or do you remember?
Yeah, I think everyone had different senses of humour, didn't he? And I think that's probably why I'm mates with Quinny. Quinny he wasn't a, he wouldn't have the whole changing room as his audience. He wasn't that type. I think he was more a little bit dry.
Yeah.
If you were next to him, he'd have a little dry comment, and that he used to make me chuckle, Quinny, with some of his comments. But no, I think there was a lot of good banter.
Yeah.
All the lads were. There was a real good team spirit there. And
did you have any superstitions?
I was quite superstitious. I was not so like whatever I'd done the game before, what I could remember, I'd do the same. So I remember one of them was always put my left shin pad on and my left sock.
Right.
Before I put and then the left boot on, then the right boot. So I always done the left shin pad, left sock, then right shin pad, right sock, left boot, right boot. That was something that I was done, but there was other little things. But I felt like if I never played as well, or we got beat, or I'd completely wipe all my superstitions, but then subconsciously I'd start them again. You know what I mean? So I was
We do as fans. We do the same thing. I'll blame the fact that I haven't worn a certain hat that, I forgot to wear a certain hat that I was wearing. And Jane actually had forgotten to wear a scarf for a few games, over Christmas. And she was blaming the fact she hadn't put this scarf on because we couldn't find it. She was blaming the scarf. And so, as fans, we get those, crazy superstitions ourselves. But was there any of your team that had some really daft superstition? I know some like to come out last and first, and there's all these sort of things. Was there any with some crazy superstitions?
There was one, but it was more of I didn't know at the time. It's what is it? He had like something where it's like a form or something. He couldn't. He had to like rub his boots 32 times and stuff like that, and he had. Yeah, well, it was. I'm making up the number. I don't know what it was. The numbers changed. Whatever was in it, and I found out later that he had what is it? Not OCD. It's something like he had a form or something where.
Yeah, they probably will be OCD. Yeah, it's just OCD on it, where he just has to do.
It was like real severe. So like if he was the last one out the changing room, he couldn't turn the. He'd be in the dark, and you go, "Why are you in the dark?" I can't turn the light on. I'm not. And it's at first I thought he was taking the mickey and. But it was mad. It was like, and I remember him he'd have to be the last one out the changing room, and then he'd have to go down on his knees and he'd have to rub his laces so many times. And then I'd say to him, "Well, how many times you got to do it?" And he'd go, "It changes." So we'd have to wait for this lad to do this. In the end, I sympathised with him and sort of went with him a little bit, but the routine was getting worse and worse, and it was becoming a bit of a hindrance. But we felt like we had to support him to feel better.
So, are there any funny moments, Gary, in your career that you remember? Any sort of funny moments?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of funny moments. I think in football. I think once Saturday game 3:00. I was like, even 1:30. I was like focused, and I was sort of just concentrating on the game. So it wasn't I wasn't interested in music and funny moments and anything like that. I was really focused, and a little bit of superstition had come in, but I was sort of concentrating on the game. But away from the football, there's a lot of funny moments. I think there's too many to mention, to be honest with you, Lee. But yeah, there's I've had I've been fortunate enough that to have played professional football, and still keep in touch with a lot of people and players, and you speak about the good times, and it's brilliant. And people remind you of some of the things which sometimes you forget.
Yeah, well, I've actually got a Hull City fan that mentioned something about what did they say? Let's have a look here. The journey in, wasn't it, to the games? Your car journeys, travelling into the matches with John Whitney. Do you remember that? Does that ring a bell? They say the Ice Bucket Challenge has nothing on those journeys. Does that ring a bell with you at all?
Yes, because that was a real mad bunch of players, and we did used to have some mad moments. I think the one, I might be wrong, but the one instant that kept mentioned at Hull was when we just stayed up, and we were doing really well. We'd done brilliant, you know, the recent results, etc. And we'd been invited to this restaurant for a meal, Chinese restaurant. We'd all been invited for a meal, and we were going to have a drink. And I think the one that they're on about was we'd all gone to the pub first, and we'd only had a couple of drinks. We weren't like rotten drunk or nothing like that. But Warren Joyce, who was the manager, was a good friend of ours, and Warren wanted to be like one of the players, and he weren't having a drink. He said, "I'll drive you." Anyway, I remember it was me and John Whitney and Jason Perry were in the car, and Warren's driving us to the restaurant, and we're annoying him, pulling his hair, pulling his tie, because he's got a shirt and tie on, looks dead smart, and we're all, normally he's like a scruff, but we're pulling his tie, messing, and as we're pulling into the car park, we've ended up pulling the handbrake as hard as we could up, and I've got his tie, and I've tied him to the back of the chair, the headrest.
Right.
And the car's parked horizontally across this road. He got the handbrake off, and he's tied his neck to this thing. And anyway, we've just all got out the car and left, and we've got into the Chinese. We heard him shouting. He's like laughing, but he's shouting, "You can't do this to me, I'm the manager."
Wow.
Anyway, we've gone into the restaurant, we're having something to eat, and everyone's saying, where's Joycey? Where's Joycey? Oh, he's coming now. Anyway, about half an hour later, 40 minutes later, he comes in. He's all red-faced, his tie's all over the place, and the lads are just in fits of tears. But it was a real good team spirit there. And
yeah, great times.
I'm trying to tone that down a little bit, Lee. If you can
I can imagine. It's probably even worse than that. Well, Gary, honestly, it's been fantastic, and thank you very much for giving me the time to talk to you. It's been a real pleasure. Just hope you stay safe in lockdown. I hope you're back in football really, really, soon.
Cheers, mate.
You
Thank
get
you
back
as well.
into it, and we might see you at Bloomfield Roads managing some other clubs soon. So.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, mate. Top man. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Bye,
Gary. Thank you.